Alrighty. So, pretty much, welcome. I'm so glad that you were here. This is the Trail Survey Program training, and it's basically going to walk you through all the species that we're asking you to identify for the 2026 survey season, as well as a little bit of a refresher on our Survey 123 app. That is how we ask you to look for these species. Like I mentioned, it's going to be recorded, and this presentation is going to be uploaded to our website, and this recording is going to be on YouTube. So if you want a refresher, you can either email me, which my information is at the end of this, or you're able to visit the website or the YouTube channel, and you're going to be able to have that refresher. But for a little bit of background context before we get started, my name is Laurel. If you don't know me, I'm the Education and Outreach Program Manager for the Finger Lakes Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management. Some of my responsibilities include running the citizen science programs, which this is one of those, our watercraft inspection steward program, our volunteer programs. Basically, I like to say anything that involves talking with people. That's my gig. So that is what I do at the Finger Lakes Prism. I'm going to ask that you save all questions for the end. I'm going to have a colleague joining me who's also going to help answer those questions. But just for the ease of the presentation and for those that will be watching this as a recording, please just save questions to the end so that folks are able to fully watch the recording and get the entirety of the presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. Alrighty. And then I'm going to put it into slideshow. Okay, can you all see the screen that says Trail Survey Program? Yes?
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, perfect. Great. So, welcome. Trail Survey Program virtual training. The Trail Survey Program itself runs from April 1st to September 30th. So it's not an April Fool's joke. I was a little worried people would think it was, but promise it's not an April Fool's joke that this is happening. It started today, so that's really exciting, and I'm happy to get into it. So, just for a little bit of placement and where we are, we're at the Finger Lakes Institute, so that's where the Prism is housed, and we are part of Hobart and William Smith Colleges at the Finger Lakes Institute. So, some of the goals of the Finger Lakes Institute are to translate knowledge and research about the Finger Lakes watershed into collaborative action. You can see there are 4 specific program areas, and invasive species falls within those program areas. So that is why we were at the Finger Lakes Institute. That leads us to the Finger Lakes Partnership for Regional Invasive Species Management, otherwise known as the Finger Lakes PRISM. So the PRISMs are a network of state, federal, local agencies, NGOs, and other stakeholders that support a diverse and comprehensive approach to invasive species management. So some of our goals are that we allow partners to share and leverage the limited resources. We are funded through the New York State DEC, and it's through the New York State Environmental Protection Fund. And our main mission is to reduce the introduction, spread, and impact of invasive species within the Finger Lakes PRISM region, which is a 17-county region, through coordinated education, detection, prevention, and control measures. So that's just the little bit of background about the Finger Lakes PRISM if you might be new to us or not as familiar with what we do. And we're going to go ahead and just dive right into it. I am sure everybody here knows what an invasive species is, but of course I like to just include it in every presentation because, maybe somebody isn't as familiar. So an invasive species is one that is non-native to the ecosystem and whose introduction causes or is likely to cause harm to the economy, environment, or human health. I really like this image that we have here. It's the invasion curve. It's a little blurry, and I do apologize for that. So I'm going to just talk about what it means. So the first section, which is blue down there, that is prevention. So that's the baseline. That's what we want to do. We always want to prevent invasive species from entering a place in the first place, because if we prevent them, then they're not going to be a problem, right? So that little part is blue. That's at the bottom where, invasives, they haven't even been introduced yet. So that is something that I really like to tell people is that you need to practice good prevention measures in your own life, like, food brushing, cleaning your boat, just being very mindful whenever you're traveling from place to place about what you could be bringing back with you, because prevention is key. After prevention, so, maybe somebody slipped up and they didn't do as good of a job cleaning off their boots or something, then something's introduced. That's that next part where, okay, we got to introduce that's that little blue arrow that's pointing up. And now we're in maybe an eradication phase. So this is where we might be able to completely eradicate a new species from an area if they just arrived, they're small populations, only a small little pocket. Maybe we can get them out of here and then they're gone. They're good to go. Like we took care of it. However, if we get past that stage, it started to spread, it started to form other pockets in other areas, we get to containment. Okay, now we're just trying to keep it in one area, maybe one state, maybe one spot, so it doesn't spread to all these others. So that's where, we're kind of climbing up the line of like, oh, we're getting in the deep end here. So containment is where we're really working to just control it within those areas, and we're trying to not let it spread any further. Then we get to asset-based protection and long-term management, which is that kind of greenish color, I would say, if you guys agree with me. It's kind of a green color at the top of that, big slope where, unfortunately, most likely here to stay, such as the tree of heaven, but we're trying to manage it. So we're trying to reduce its impact as much as we possibly can. So that is the invasion curve. I really like to put people in a mindset of where things might be in the invasion curve and for you to ask potentially where things are in the invasion curve, because then you can know what our goals might be when it comes to treating these invasive species and trying to manage them. So I know that was a little bit of a spiel, but I hope it was helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and move on past this slide. So one question sometimes that we get is, why are we surveying trails? There's so many other places, why just trails? And it's not just trails. But trails are areas that are frequently disturbed, so there could be human foot traffic, there could be trail clearing. Trails are very frequently traveled. Hiking is awesome. I love hiking, so they're frequently traveled areas. The edges of the forest and where trails are, they have different environmental conditions that are often more suitable to invasive species. So that could be a warmer temperature, there's lower moisture there for other variety of reasons. Early detection is also more likely on trails. So, for example, somebody didn't brush off their boots whenever they started going on a walk. They started walking down the trail. They dropped some seeds off. Those species planted themselves right at the edge of the trail, and they didn't, they haven't quite spread there yet. So there's more of a chance for that early detection on the trail edge. It's easier to manage than whenever it starts to spread into that interior forest. So trails are a really good spot to start looking for invasive species and just understanding that, hey, maybe if we can nip this in the bud here, it's not going to make an impact on the greater forest ecosystem. And then trail surveys also generate spatial data on where invasive species are spreading. A large goal of the citizen science programs are to fill gaps within our own data and our own knowledge because, our team here, we have 5 full-time PRISM staff. We are just 5 people, and it's a 17 county region. We can't physically go across the entire region. So that's where volunteers like you come into play. You're really helpful in understanding where these invasive species are spreading and potentially even detecting new populations and helping us understand, oh, we need to go here. This is a spot that we really should go to because maybe a volunteer spotted it. So that's another reason. Trails are really, really important. They're a huge form of recreation. A lot of people really enjoy using them, but we also have to practice mindful recreation and understand that what we do has an impact. So by you volunteering and knowing the impact that you have on these trails and looking for those invasive species, that's going to let us more understand, where they're spreading and how to help. So now we're going to get into a little bit of nitty-gritty about how the actual trail survey works. Anybody can participate as long as you have a phone or some sort of smart device or a tablet or something along those lines, even a computer, but I don't think you're going to hike in the woods with a computer. So I would say a phone or a tablet. Anybody with a smart device can participate. The trail survey program takes place anywhere in the region. I encourage, or even outside of it, if you see something that's like on the border, I do not care. I would love for people to just know that they can upload invasive species to Survey 123 because all of our data goes to IMAP Invasives anyway, which is a statewide platform. So any detection that you see is very important. However, in addition to you just going out on your own and being able to survey wherever you want to, we also are going to have in-person workshops around the region and 3 virtual trainings. And you are already in one of the virtual trainings, so I'm sure you know of the other workshops because they were right on that form. But there are some date changes that I'm going to go over briefly because, spring weather, spring flooding, etc. has happened. So we had to modify some dates slightly. The first actual trail survey in-person workshop is actually now on Thursday, April 16th at Danby State Forest. So, oh, another thing I should mention, all of these in-person workshops, as you can see, are with partner organizations. We really enjoy working with partner organizations and being able to just collaborate across the region, introduce volunteers to different partner organizations, and hopefully give you all a sense of placement of, hey, I can also go ask, the Genesee Land Trust a question about this in addition to the PRISM. So we really enjoy our partnerships, and this is a great way to do so. It's kind of, I like to say I'm going on tour across the region. I just drop into all these different spots, meet all these great people. So that's another perk of the trail survey program that I have been trying to implement since last year, I believe. Yep, with the Hemlock Woolly Adelgid Survey Program. So that aside, like I mentioned, Thursday, April 16th is our first in-person workshop. We had to switch 2 workshops so far. The Montezuma Audubon Center, which was going to be this Friday, is now on Friday, May 8th. And then the Owaka Creek Park workshop, which was going to be this Saturday, is now going to be on May 12th. So those are the 2 date changes that I want people to make note of. The first workshop is going to be Thursday, April 16th, and then we're going to continue through the rest of the season with all of the workshops that are listed above. I would encourage you to sign up for any workshop that you might be interested in. This is how we cancel workshops if we need to reschedule them for weather or any other way. So I need your email for that. Unfortunately, I don't know that you're interested unless you do sign up. So to know any updates, parking, what you should wear, what the weather's looking like, just any details, sign up for any workshop that you're interested in going to. Or, just make sure that you are aware of the weather and you can contact me, but I really encourage you to sign up for any workshop you're interested in. You can also attend these virtual trainings like you are right now. You don't have to attend the in-person workshops. They are just an option for you to attend, build community, collaborate with others, meet people that have the same mindset as you and want to look for these invasive species. I also want to build the community around it because it's a great opportunity. They're all in a walk and learn format. So we're going to go out, we're going to just look for some invasives that are on the list for that specific time frame, and we're going to be good to go. So that is the trail survey program in a nutshell. I know it's a lot of information, but the main thing is to make sure that you're signed up for those workshops and those virtual trainings so I can get you signed up and I can get you the information that you need. So volunteers are asked to survey for invasive species that appear at different times throughout the season. This is slightly different than how the trail survey has been ran before. So if you are a returning participant and you have been doing the trail survey for a while, this is something that has changed since previous years. Since we started in April and we're going all the way to September, species change, things change through that time period. So we're going to be dropping, I'm putting air quotations because it's kind of like, oh my gosh, dropping new music. We're dropping new invasive species for you to look for every 2 months. So we update our species list. That's going to be on our website. You're going to get an email about it. You're going to be able to know which species we're asking you to look for. But I want you guys to know that April through May, those are our early emergent species. So those are species that might leaf out sooner, might emerge sooner than other species. So in April and May, we're going to have a set species list for you to look at. Then in June and July, some of the species that were in April and May We're taking them off the list, and some new species are going to be added. Same thing in August and September. We're going to re-update the list. Some might be taken off. We're going to add some new ones, but it switches every 2 months.
Cool.
So at the first of every month, just please keep in mind that the species are going to change. The virtual trainings are also in conjunction to these, kind of blocked periods. So if you want to join those virtual training sessions to get a look at what species there are, you can join the virtual training sessions and I'll give a run through of all the species. Okay, so I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly, but to survey, please do not go off the trail. That is very important. If we're looking for invasive species, we could have gotten them on our shoes, and we don't want to take them further into the woods by going off the trail. So please just head down the trail and look for the species that are in season on the list. Take a point for each species you come across. If you have encountered a monoculture, take a point every few hundred feet from the beginning to the end of the species distribution. You don't need a tape measure like the individual here has. It's just a helpful tool if you really want to be super precise about it. But just generally if it's a big monoculture, just try to take a point as you're going along. So that way we know, oh man, this is a really big patch of something. We need to go check it out. Species distribution, this has not changed much since our previous programs, but basically we're asking you to characterize it as trace, sparse, dense, monoculture, or linearly scattered. Man, that's a weird word. Linearly scattered, yeah. So the definitions are here, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We have this in our actual form as well. So we tell you what that characterization is. This is also just what you are going to perceive and what you're going to think. So it's up to your own judgment. We're not going to say you have to count out every single plant that is there precisely, just generally your own personal judgment on which one of these categories you think the species you are looking for is going to fit into. And now we're going to get into the actual species that I would like you all to look for this season that are going to help us. These are our April and May species. They're listed here. I'm not going to read through them because we're about to go through all of them. And yeah, but these are our species. Okay, first things first, old familiar. We have Japanese knotweed. I'm sure all of you know Japanese knotweed, but it is found along the edges of waterways and roads. It forms dense thickets. They exclude the native vegetation. They threaten infrastructure due to its ability to grow through concrete, which is crazy. And they also increase erosion. So the Japanese knotweed reproduces and spreads through seeds, rhizomes, and stem fragments. How to identify it? You're going to look for alternate leaves that are broad. So that is 3 to 6 inches wide, as you can see on that top photo there. And they have pointed tips and flat or heart-shaped bases. They have a hollow bamboo-like stem with reddish splotches, and then they also have long white flowers. So all of these images up here, just in case you need a slight refresher on what Japanese knotweed is and looks like, this is one of the species that we're asking you to look for the beginning of the season. Whenever Japanese knotweed first emerges, it kind of comes out of the ground in these little like reddish shoots. So that might be how you see it initially. But Japanese knotweed, we know it, we don't like it. Tell us about it. Another one that we know and don't like at all, the spotted lanternfly. So, spotted lanternfly is the only insect that we're going to be having you all look for. Everything else on the list is a plant, but the spotted lanternfly, we are going to be looking for that. So, it was first introduced in Pennsylvania in 2014, made its way up here in 2020. Its host plants include tree of heaven, which is an invasive species, grapevine, hops, maple, walnut, fruit trees. So basically all of the trees that make our really fun drinks and syrups, which is sad. And its feeding behavior weakens host plants by creating wounds and drains them of resources. So this is a major threat to agriculture and especially in the grape industry. How to identify spotted lanternfly. What you're going to see right now in April and May, and this will change because you can see the life cycle up there in it's the upper left image that we have. It is going to be in its egg mass stage, and then it'll emerge into a nymph in the April and May period. So right now, what you would see are those egg masses. You would potentially probably just see the covered egg mass or partially covered egg mass if a spotted lanternfly was interrupted, or you might also see an old hatched egg mass. Even if you see that old egg mass that is already been hatched and it doesn't appear that there are any spotted lanternflies in it, that is still really important. We still need to know that you found it because that is obviously saying that a spotted lanternfly was here at some point and the nymphs hatched out, so it is still here. So even if you see that old egg mass and you don't actually see the lanternfly itself, please still report that. But for now, you're going to see those egg masses, and then it's going to go into the nymph stage. So the first nymph stage is black with white spots, you can see in the upper right, and then it turns red right before the adult stage. For now, you are more likely to see the old egg masses and then that black instar stage before it shifts into that red stage and then goes into the full spotted lanternfly. This is a species we're going to ask you to look for throughout the entire survey program, as is Japanese knotweed. So just keeping that in mind, that we're asking you to look for these plants for the entirety of the program. Tree of Heaven, the preferred host for spotted lanternfly, follows right up against it. So the tree of heaven is found in disturbed sites in urban and forested areas. It reproduces prolifically by seed and root suckers, and it quickly outcompetes native plants and exudes allelopathic chemicals from its roots to prohibit growth from other plants. So it's a big bully, essentially. How to identify the tree of heaven is that you can see the smooth cantaloupe-like bark. There's compound leaves with opposite leaflets, and they are characterized with a small knob at the base. They're called thumbs because they're kind of like a thumb. And then it also stinks. It has a rancid peanut butter smell when the leaves are crushed. If you have ever smelled it, I remember the first time I smelled it, it was absolutely disgusting and I was not expecting it. People were saying, "Oh, it is really horrible." And I was like, "It can't be that bad." And I promise it is that bad. So if you sniff it, you're going to know exactly what it is. Just please make sure that you do know it's not poison sumac because poison sumac. But that is a really good way to characterize Tree of Heaven. Knowing where Tree of Heaven is really important because it helps us understand where the spotted lanternfly potentially is going to be. So by understanding where there are stands of Tree of Heaven, we can then kind of think, okay, spotted lanternfly potentially will be here, so it's a spot that we know to look out for. Okay, this is a relatively new one. It is the golden oyster mushroom. So there's really limited knowledge about this species. It was a popular mushroom to cultivate through purchased grow kits. It is, we think it escaped from the cultivation into the local habitats, and it outcompetes the native fungi. So how to identify it is bright yellow to golden brown cap with white gills and a depressed center, so like a typical oyster mushroom. And the stems are noticeably curved or bent. I also should mention that we do have fact sheets and just general information on our website as well for all of these species. So in addition to this recorded video that's going to go on YouTube and the emails that I'm going to be sending out, if you go on our website, you can find all these fact sheets, the PowerPoint slides, so you're able to read. I put up an article about the golden oyster mushroom that just really is a good scientific read if you have some time, but I just wanted to mention that as well. So we are looking for the golden oyster mushroom. I do see Donna, have they banned? I am actually not sure about that, but that is a really good point. I'm not sure about it, but I can look into it. Oops, come on. We want to go to the next one. There we go. Okay, great. Beech leaf disease, not great, but great that I got it to click because it wasn't clicking there for a minute. So, beech leaf disease is another one that we're looking for. It harms both American and ornamental beech trees, which are already under pressure from the beech bark disease. So these are caused by a microscopic nematode that induces malformations within the leaves when they are infested. There's still not a lot known about the cause and the spread, but beech leaf disease is something that we really are wanting people to report on because it is spreading um, more quickly. So you can see here that it has that characteristic striping. How to identify beech is it is really smooth gray bark. Unfortunately, a lot of people like to write in beech, so
Mhm.
that could also be a way to identify it. But I am very sad whenever I do see that because it can really harm the tree. But beech trees are very important, and we want to be able to identify the beech leaf disease. So whenever you see that characteristic striping on the leaves, that's how you know it's the beech leaf disease. So lesser celandine is another one that we're going to ask you to look for. The lesser
Oh,
the lesser celandine is found along stream banks, floodplains, roadsides, lawns, and forest edges. It also is called fig buttercup, is another name you might have heard for it. So it forms dense early spring mats that outcompete native wildflowers, reduces biodiversity, and alters natural spring ephemerals. So it spreads rapidly through tubers and bulbits, and it also reproduces by seed. So how to identify it? It has shiny, dark green, kidney or heart-shaped leaves, as you can see in the upper right. It has bright yellow flowers with 8 to 12 glossy petals, so it kind of does look like a buttercup. It is low growing ground cover that dies back in early summer, so that is why we are asking you to identify it within April and May. And it produces small underground tubers and bulbous in the leaf axils. So this is the lesser celandine or fig buttercup, but it's another one that we're asking you to look for and is a little more identifiable in the springtime because if you see something that is absolutely bright yellow, you're like, what's that? And you can go look at it and see that it is the lesser celandine, or hopefully not. So we have the Japanese barberry is up next. This one is found in forests, forest edges, fields, and roadsides. It forms dense, spiny thickets that crowd out the native plants and alter the soil chemistry. It's associated with higher tick densities. It spreads by seed and it's dispersed by birds and vegetatively through root sprouts. So, how to identify the Japanese barberry? It has small oval leaves, smooth edges that grow in clusters along the stems. It has small yellow flowers in the spring and bright red oblong berries that persist into the wintertime. So these identification photos are really good. This is another one that leaves out just a lot sooner. And something that is really interesting is a lot of invasive species foster those higher tick densities because they leaf out sooner, so the ticks go to them because they are there and they have already started leafing out sooner than those native species. So it fosters those higher tick densities, which is really unfortunate. Nobody wants ticks, nobody wants Lyme's disease. So it's another reason that it's important to know what these species are and report them. Multiflora rose, another one that I'm sure everybody is fairly familiar with. This one is found in fields, forest edges, roadsides, and pastures. It forms dense, arching, thorny thickets that can displace the native vegetation and restrict wildlife movement. It spreads by seed and is dispersed by birds and by rooting where the canes touch the ground. So how to identify it is it can do long arching canes with curved thorns. It has compound leaves with 5 to 11 leaflets. It has fringe stipules, so those feathery looking structures at the base of the leaf stems. Natives don't have that. And it clusters of small of white to pale pink flowers in the late spring. So multiflora rose, another one that we are asking you to identify. And Rosa multiflora, pretty easy scientific name. If you want to sound really cool when you're talking to your friends, you can say the Rosa multiflora because it's super simple to remember. But multiflora rose. And now we're on to honeysuckle. So there are several invasive honeysuckles in New York State. There are native ones, but there are also invasive ones. We are generally asking you to just look for the invasive honeysuckle species, which are seen here. And something as well, we confirm or deny all of your identification photos. So even if you're unsure and you're not really positive if this is the one that you think you're seeing, we still encourage you to submit that point because we do go through and we confirm the detections. So just as long as you make sure you're taking some really good identification photos, that is all we ask so we can confirm those species. So honeysuckle is typically found in forests, forest edges, wetlands, and roadsides. It leaves out early and holds leaves late, and it shades out the native understory plants and reduces forest regeneration. It spreads by abundant seeds that are dispersed by birds. So how to identify it? It has opposite oval leaves with smooth edges, hollow stems, tubular flowers, and they're white, pink, or yellow depending on the species, and red or orange berries in late summer. I can always typically identify it just by looking over and seeing the berries pretty quickly, but we're just generally asking you to look for those invasive honeysuckle species. And I'm sure that most likely what you would submit to the survey will be those invasive species. But like I said, we'll confirm it and we'll, make sure that the detection is correct before it gets submitted and uploaded. And now we have yellow flag iris. So this one is found in wetlands, pond edges, stream banks, and ditches. It forms dense stands that displace native wetland vegetation and alter the water flow. It can be toxic to livestock. It spreads by rhizomes and by seed that floats and moves downstream. Its identification, it has tall, sword-shaped leaves. Sounds too cool for it to be an invasive species, but it is
Yeah.
invasive, so it's bad. And similar to cattails, but they're in fan-like clumps. It has large, bright yellow flowers with purple, yeah, my apologies, purple or brown markings. It has thick rhizomes that form dense clumps along the shorelines, and it has green seed pods that turn brown and split open when they are mature. So yellow flag iris, it's pretty similar looking to all other iris species that you might see. So this is another one that if you see a bright spot of yellow, head over to it, see if it's an invasive species within the means of staying on the trail. And like I had mentioned, I wanted to take a minute to talk. Those were all the species, by the way. So that was the whole list that we're asking you to identify. But I wanted to take a moment to talk about how to take good identifiable photos of plants. So for the spotted lanternfly, that is the one that we are asking you to look for that does move because it can jump. But spotted lanternfly typically only has a couple jumps in it whenever it gets to the adult stage. Whenever it's in the nymph stage or in the egg mass stage, of course, in the egg mass stage, it can't move. But whenever it's in the nymph stage, it can't move that well either. So for spotted lanternfly, adults just give it two good jumps and then you'll be able to squish it, take a picture of it. For egg masses and for the nymphs, you'll be more likely to be able to take a good photo. But in general, we have formatted the survey to where you can upload more than one photo, and that is encouraged. So the reason for that being, there are several different ways that we can identify species. It's helpful for us if we have more than one photo just for confirmation. And these, which again, this is available on our website, it's from iNaturalist, from the Canadian Wildlife Federation, but it's a really good pamphlet to just let you know what you should be looking for. So just explain the overall structure. You could take one that kind of just shows the entirety of the plant. Then you can take a photo for the general habitat. You can take a in focus photo, so make sure that you click your device to make sure it focuses in. You can do stem or a trunk if your plant has one. If there's any flowers, fruit, seeds, seed pods, or cones, you can take photos of those as well, just to help us narrow down that identification. You can take a photo of the leaves, both sides if you'd like to. And if you want to show just if it has a simple membrane or a compound, that's great, really helpful for identification. Like I said, those compound leaflets are those compound leaves are ones that have more than one leaflet. I confused myself there for a minute. So a compound leaf has multiple leaflets, and a simple leaf is one leaf. There will be a plant identification thing right after this, so I'll explain it here in a minute. And then record any visible roots. So you don't have to take all of these photos. For a lot of these species, we can identify it based on just one or two good photos. You don't have to go super duper, like taking angle photos, doing a whole photo shoot with one plant for one detection. You don't have to do that. Just make sure that we should be able to identify it. So for a lot of these, if you just take a picture of the plant in general, maybe if there's some berries or flowers, that's great. But just take good photos. That's my main ask because we can't confirm it if we can't recognize what it is if it's too blurry. So good photos are a lifesaver for us. Okay, now that I just potentially confused some of you, this is a diagram showing the plants and leaf shapes. I know my description, it was hard to say without actually looking at it. But compound and simple, as you can see in the lower left-hand side, compound is one leaf that has multiple leaflets coming out of that one leaf. So that would be like tree of heaven for your native species. Think of like black walnut, honey locust, black locust. Those are compound leaves because they have multiple leaflets coming out. A simple leaf is like a maple or an oak, where it is just one leaf. There's no leaflets. It is not compound. Then we also have leaf shapes. So in some of those descriptions that I was talking about for a lot of these species, I was talking about heart and oblong and lanceolate. I don't think I said lanceolate, but that's a cool word. Linear, ovate. There's multiple different leaf shapes and different margins too. So there could be a wavy, serrated, whole margin. Those are really helpful whenever you are looking to identify plants. So if you're out there and you're not sure what something is, this is a great way for you to kind of narrow down. Because if you know, like, oh, Tree of Heaven has compound leaves, and you should be looking for something with a compound leaf. That just helps you narrow down what you're looking for. Leaf arrangements, these are really important as well. It can help you narrow down what plant you're looking at even further. So alternate is where the leaves are alternating on the stem. And then opposite, of course, is where the leaves are opposite on the stem as they're going up. Whorled is if they are whorled around the stem. So like this example here, there's 5 leaves that are in a circle around the stem. That is where they are whorled. So these diagrams, again, they're available on our website. They are actually from our field guide. The Finger Lakes Prism made a basically an invasive species field guide, and these are directly out of that book. That is also available on our website underneath the education and outreach materials. So if you click on that, you just go down, you'll be able to see this field guide here. But I wanted to pull out these diagrams just to give you guys a good idea
Cool.
of
Okay.
helping plant ID. So now that we've talked about all the fun stuff about how to ID it, how the heck do we report it? This is Survey 123. If you are not familiar with it, it's just an app that we use. All of the data, like I mentioned, gets uploaded to IMAP Invasives. So we collaborate with them. We collect the data just because there's some stuff that we want to know that IMAP doesn't collect. They just collect if you saw it or not and where that was. We want to know some more information like how dense it was, how much, etc. And we also want to know where our volunteers were going so that we can credit you for the hard work that you're doing. So that's why we use Survey 123. If you would like this QR code, you can scan it right now if you have a phone, and you can download the 2026 Trail Survey Program observations. I will send an email out that's going to have all of this information to you as well. So if you don't want to download it right now, that is absolutely okay. I'll send you the email. All you would have to do is either click on the link or scan the QR code on your device that you will be using to survey, and it's going to automatically just upload it as long as you have ArcGIS Survey 123 downloaded onto your device. So this is just a screenshot showing you what the app looks like in the App Store. This is Apple, but it's pretty similar throughout all of the devices. The icon is the same. So you just search ArcGIS Survey 123. You're going to open it. Every single survey that we create, you can do without having an ArcGIS online account. So you can just click continue without signing in, and you're all absolutely good to go. We don't require you to sign in. That's a barrier that I don't want to introduce to people. So just say continue without signing in, and you are groovy. After that, you can scan the QR code, you can click the link, and then that just bam, the survey's on your phone. You're done. That's all you have to do. So if you don't have it already, you can do it right now if you want to. Or, like I said, I will send an email after this that just has all of these resources for you, and you can do it that way. Just make sure you are either scanning the QR code or clicking that link on the device that you will be surveying on. So that most likely is going to be your cellular device. So this is the 2026 Trail Survey Program point collection. This is how you're going to be recording those points. I am going to go to the next slide, and then I am going to share my screen just to show you what the survey looks like pretty quickly. But I want to go ahead and introduce you to QR code number 2. This is how to fill out your volunteer hours. We are moving away from collecting hours individually for each program, and we're trying to just be a little more cohesive about it. So this is our general volunteer form. This is for anything and everything that the Prism is going to be doing for 2026. Hopefully this works for this year and I can continue to use it for further years, but this is what we're trying to do this year, just to put everything in one place. Same thing as the last one. You can scan this QR code and that's going to immediately put the survey onto your phone. If you have Survey 123 downloaded, it's just a volunteer form. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen really quickly, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Survey 123 form. Give me 2 moments, please. Come on.
Laurel, it looks like your slide didn't forward on the last one.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm just showing you all here we go. Okay. Do you guys see, there we go. I think it showed up.
Yeah.
Do you guys see the trail survey? Okay, perfect. So this is the observation form. This is not what it's going to look like on yours. This is just on mine. You're not going to have, because I was editing in this, so you aren't going to have this, but these are the questions it is going to ask you. So you're going to type in your name. If you have an IMAP Invasives account, you can say yes and put your IMAP ID in here. If you don't have an IMAP Invasives account, it's fine, and you can just say no, because we are going to put all of it up on it for you anyway. We don't require you to have an IMAP account, but if you want that credit on IMAP, you absolutely can put your ID in there. And like I said, we really enjoy collaborating with them. So just make sure that if you want to get that credit, you can. So then you have the date. So it just populates it for you. Like it automatically says, oh, it's April 1st. April Fools, congrats. So you can just say April 1st on that one or whatever day you went out. Survey 123 automatically collects your location as long as you have your location services on. So you don't have to do anything except for just make sure that you have that location on for the app. So that just is in your settings. You can just say location services on and you're good to go. And then if you detected an invasive species, you're going to say yes. And then you're just going to say which one. We will update this again every 2 months. So that way you can just click whichever species you would like to. And then let's say we saw some barberry. How dense is the population? It's a little, it's sparse, which is great. And then for the observation photo, you're just going to click this. I am not going to click it right now because all you guys would see is me again talking to you because it'll go on my webcam. But you would take an observation photo. It can be flowers, leaves, bark of the species you observed. And just take a couple if you'd like. Just make sure that we would be able to identify it. The only time that I'm going to ask you to say no, that you didn't see an invasive species for this program is if you went on a hike intending to find invasive species for the trail survey program and you didn't find anything. That is the only time that I'm going to say no, you didn't see an invasive species, and just put in the comments, I went on a walk. If there was a trail name, you can put the trail name on it. I went here and I didn't see a species. Since it automatically just collects your location, we will know and see where you are. But just generally, if you went somewhere and you didn't see anything, then that is a-okay. I potentially will update this survey and include the trail name and the site name. So that was something that was in our Hemlock Woolly Adelgid survey. If you see an update for survey 123, all you do is just click the top and it says update, and then it just updates the survey. So you don't have to do anything. If I update it, I'll send an email out, and all you have to do is just at the top of your app, it's going to say there's an update available, and you just update your survey. It's very simple, but I might be adding that into the survey, and I just want to let you guys know. So that is our survey. Where'd my mouse go? There it is. That is our point collection form. This next one I'm going to show you is our volunteer hours form. So this is pretty much just how to find those volunteer hours and to fill them out. If you're doing any volunteer work for us, you should be filling out this form. So this one should be completed each time you volunteer for the Finger Lakes Prism. It's just going to say, what's the date? This is the date. Enter your full name. So for each of these, I want to be able to also connect them to the program that you were at. So just enter the name that you have been using consistently throughout all of our programs. For the program, select whichever one you were volunteering for. For this one, obviously it's the Trail Survey program, but if you volunteered for something else and you don't see it on here, you could always click other and then just type the name of whatever you were doing for us, and then just enter the number of hours. But this is how we are tracking the volunteer hours. So it's simpler than trying to do it within the survey, but it's just a lot more helpful for us so we know and can appreciate and can also reward you for what you are doing as a volunteer for us as a citizen scientist. So those are our trail survey collection forms. I'm going to stop my share one more time and I'm going to pull up the presentation slide, and I'm just going to share this last one with you. It's one more slide. Alrighty, there we go. So, from current slide. There we go. That is pretty much all I have. So Seek and iNaturalist are really great identification apps that you can use. So you can just download both of them. They're really wonderful. I would also encourage you, if you'd like to download IMAP Invasives, just to have it on your phone and to know it's there. And then you can also see your data uploaded whenever that goes public. You can do that as well. But like I said, we do upload everything. We collaborate very closely with them. So it all goes there anyway. And it also goes for our information as well. But your data is used. It is used to understand species distribution. It's used to understand management, what we should be doing, where things are spreading. So what you collect as a citizen scientist for the Trail Survey program is just extremely important. Like I mentioned, all of the reference material is going to be on our website, which is fingerlakesinvasives.org. It's under the Citizen Science tab. I will send an email to everybody after this, just, generally giving you all information about it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. My name is Laurel again. I'm the Education and Outreach Program Manager. My email is lwilliams@hws.edu. Or you can ask Lydia Martin, our Terrestrial Invasive Species Program Manager. Her email is lmartin@hws.edu. And that is all I have. So I am going to stop my share so that I can see everything in the chat so I can start answering some questions.